God, I'm on a horrible sleeping schedule. Documentary, you know, directing the shit myself, and it's a lot of work. It is like directing a film is way more work than I ever could have possibly expected because it's all on me. It's all me. You know, this is my creative output, and it's my life, so I should be the one to direct it. But you know, I'm pulling all-nighters right now. I try to have a cut a couple days ago, try to have one today. But I'm just not gonna, and I showed like a little glimpse of, that was probably like 5% completed, or probably like 90% completed, just with the first segment, for the first like 10 minutes of the film. But I'll be putting that on Patreon right after I do it. And as soon as we're done with, probably have like another week, we're gonna do like, you know, the first 15 minutes. It's cohesive enough where we can show it to, you know, I'll put it on Patreon in its entirety. I had to take the live that we had done tonight for the Sinister Paul Narcan Project giveaway. I had to mark as unlisted because I put some footage from the documentary on there, and my attorney didn't like that. She's like, "You are a fucking attention whore, is what you are. Why are you posting stuff on there like that?" So I'm sorry. But we're having another raffle tonight, and then we're going to have one tomorrow. Today I'm going to get an 8-hour tattoo session. And I hate getting tattoos. You know, you always hear like weirdos, you know, like the shoegazer emo kids, like, dude, I love the pain of tattoos. It pretty much a metaphor for my dad yelling at me. And you're like, dude, that's, wow. Makes me not. So, I mean, tattoos got very trendy. I have a lot of tattoos, you know. I have my legs done, which is classy. We got lesbian kiss scene. Oh, can you see it? Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I felt strongly about, I was like, dude, lesbian porn's my favorite kind of porn. I'm going to get that on my leg. That's when I was 23. I'd say that at this point I'm making somewhat better decisions about what I put on my body permanently. But I don't regret any tattoos, you know. I'm getting an 8-hour session. I hate getting tattoos. They hurt. I'm getting Paul's portrait. And I'm going to start getting this whole sleeve knocked out. And I got a shoot coming up in July, and I want to look tougher than I am. You know what I mean? Because my dad yells at me. I don't want him to yell at me anymore. I feel like if I'm blasted, he'll be like, "Oh my God, Diane, I think Ryan joined a gang." My mom would be like, "Who gives a fuck, Frank? Let him do what he wants." My mom was always very supportive of whatever. All right, long enough intro. I know. I had said I wouldn't do intros anymore. Now on Patreon, I'm doing monologues. I'm trying to do them daily, where I just talk randomly, which I'm doing now, and so then I can go straight into the story. So if you like just hearing me say random shit, go check out Patreon. And thank you so much for everybody that contributed to the Paul Narcan Project charity. Really appreciate that. I'm going to have a full functioning nonprofit now that accomplishes what I wanted to and save lives. And that's, I can't think of a better tribute to Paul. I know, I fucking brother to me, I know how much he would be touched and moved by the fact that I'm doing that, and I couldn't do that without you guys. So thank you. So I'm going back to Victorville. Victimville. So now we're in 2018. It's not 2009. The first time I went to Victorville was 2009. Back then, it was Victimville had a horrible reputation. Now, the way that it works in federal custody, just for a little recap for you guys, is, okay, so in state prison, they have level 1 yards, level 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. Level 4 yards in California, I've never been on. I have been on a level 3. I've been on a level 1. That's it. I've never been on a 2, and I've never been on a 4. But I have been on a 3. I've been to reception, and I've been on a 1. And 1 is a piece of cake. The 3 was one of the worst experiences of my life. I don't know why I sound like the Beatles right there, but Ringo. And then I didn't sound like him. I tried to sound like him again and I didn't. Jesus, see, when I do videos this late, I fall off on quality. But okay, so in the federal system, they have a camp. Now, camp is like what in the Wolf of Wall Street, when he's like driving a golf cart around or whatever he's doing. He's like, you know, it looks like a country club. Club Fed. That's a camp. Who generally goes to camp? Well, probably white-collar criminals, stockbrokers, white people, you know, people that have no violence on their record, and generally old people, and generally people that told on their case. Yeah, there's a lot of ratting in the camps. I have violence on my record. I have a battery. I could never get to a camp. The next one is a low. A low is like Terminal Island, where Sinister did 10 years. Lows have more privileges than like a medium or a USP. And the problem with lows is that they are flooded with child molesters. Yeah, they are. And this is general population, but they don't have a concept of separating them. And when you get to a low, they'll be like, okay, if you guys hit a chomo, we're going to give you a hate charge. You know, intent to be a good person, but beating up a piece of shit. It's a new charge, 5 years. But they will give you a hate charge for that because you're essentially beating them up because they're a sex offender. It's just crazy. Jeff watched one of my videos and I was telling a story about a guy that got 16 with half for forcing oral sex on a child under 14 years old. 16 with half. 16 fucking months with half. So he did 8 months. Just so you clarify that. And I did double that of actual time, 16 months for pandering. Pandering is brokering prostitution. Like, hey, here, I'll facilitate this prostitution deal, and then, you know, it's like brokering it as if the commerce was a drug or something. Now, I hear on these other prison channels, dude, you can't even walk GP with pimping. That's simply not true. And I got to Victorville. I was there with Aaron Brotherhood guys, and they were letting me walk the yard. They put me in general population in Santa Barbara County. They put me in general population in San Bernardino County. You know, in the state system, general population with that charge. Nobody was tripping on that. I don't know why people say that. Oh, I'm going to kiss your bowling ball. So lows, they're flooded with child molesters. That's one of the major drawbacks. And usually you're there because your age. Sinister's like about 10 years older than me. First time in trouble. So they send you to a low security prison. Not as violent as the mediums or the USPs, which are the highs. Now, the mediums they can be pretty violent, especially if they're on a complex. Now, a complex is where it's multiple custody levels. You got a camp, you got a low, you got a medium, sometimes a USP, all on the same property. That's called a complex, different yards. And of course, they're all divided up. Generally, when you go to a medium that is on the same complex with the USP, so there's a few that come to mind. Florence, Colorado has a USP Florence. They have a medium. Victorville has a USP and 2 mediums in a girls' camp. Lompoc has a USP, a low, and a camp. So there's some complexes. I think that definitely Beaumont and Terre Haute. All of them are complexes. Now, generally, if you're at a yard like Victorville, they have the USP. There's a lot of lifers there. There's a lot of like, you know, high profile guys, high power guys there. Those USP rules that govern, you know, the politics that govern the USP tend to be mirrored in the mediums that are on the same complex, because a lot of the guys, when they go down in custody, they just straight walk them from the USP to the medium. So people are kind of, you know, still under those maximum security rules, and mediums can be horrible. I saw people get stabbed there. The hot baby oil thing, locks in the sock, consensual BFing. So what? Mediums, some bad things can happen. There's a lot of lifers there, and yeah, Victorville is pretty rock and roll. And the reason that I went there, remember, I got caught with the knife because of Boots. I took the blame because he was still looking at time I already signed. That probably sealed my fate with always having to be at mediums. Now, Oxford and Wisconsin was a medium as well. So was Terre Haute when I was on the layover there. Actually, I was at the USP there. But, you know, Oxford, Midwest, the politics are different. You know, it's like the movie Canadian Bacon. You ever seen that? Where like U.S. goes to war against like polite Canadians. That's how like Wisconsin, where everyone's just really nice in the Midwest compared to California. You know, California, it's has to do a lot with the gangs. So basically, it's true. I've never been below a USP or FCI. I just haven't. You know, I went to USP Lompoc, which is medium security points now, but it's still a USP. It's still an old penitentiary. It still says USP Lompoc, like if you were to write it or whatever, if you look it up on the internet. So anyway, I knew that I was going back to Victorville. I didn't know which one. I didn't know if I was going to the USP or the medium, and honestly, there's really no difference. You have a little bit more freedom in the FCI, which is the medium, than the high security USP, but they're both rocking and rolling. And so in 2009, Victorville was the really bad one. Beaumont was bad too. They nicknamed Beaumont Bloody Beaumont. Now Big Sandy's like the really bad one from what I'm hearing. I know people that have gone there. They said it's nuts, you know. It's like straight up natural born killers, like people walking around with like, you know, their celly's head on a mop stick. And they're just like, yeah, Wellbutrin. People are like, yeah, me too. Yeah, I cut my celly's head off. Snort Wellbutrin and masturbate, yeah. That's how it is. So, okay. What I'd heard now that I was there for the second carnation of my Victorville experience, I heard that it had mellowed out. You know, I'd heard that, but I also heard from this guy Popeye, you know, the guy that got started a 7-year sentence and he got 15 years added on because he stabbed a fucking chomo 46 times. And then he had 22 years. And he was just telling me basically, he's telling me all sorts of crazy stories. He's like, yeah, man. Yeah, when I was at, Terre Haute, there's a homosexual that wanted me to suck his cock, and I bit that shit off. Yeah. I'm no gay. I bit it. I'm like, you had a dude's dick in your mouth? He's like, I bit it off. I bit it off. I'm totally just kidding, Popeye. Please don't kill me when you're out. But he did tell me stories about stabbing people and killing people in prison, and the glee. Prison's interesting because I've done time with a lot of killers, and you know me, I'm like a fucking really curious person. You know, I am. But that gets me in a lot of trouble. It's also, I'm an impulsive person. So when I find out someone's killed someone, I'm like, really? What did that feel like? I mean, like, usually they're eating some macaroni salad and they're just like, I'm like, what? And you hear everyone at the table, they're like, yes, and talk to no one in like 19 years, man. He's like, good. What do you mean good? Killing is good. But I'd always ask people, you know, what killing people felt like. Because it's interesting. How often do you get to be around people that killed people? Probably more than you think. There's definitely suspect people. Sometimes I'm in an Uber and I'm looking at the guy, I'm like, dude, this guy probably has a body in the trunk. You ever get some weird-ass Uber drivers? There's some weird-ass motherfuckers out there, man. Uber people. I was in an Uber one time and the guy was watching porn on his iPhone. And I could see it. I was like, hey, man, I can see you doing that. He's like, I don't speak English. It's like a black dude. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Yeah, you run into some weird Uber drivers. So anyway, it's always interesting to talk to people that have killed people and to find out what they have to say about it. I've heard all sorts of stuff. I've heard people say that there's a sexual arousement to murdering someone, to ending their life, which, that's mellow. Oh, all right. Yeah, it sounds relaxing, dude. You know? And so I got to be friends with this one guy. He's a really, really good dude, right? He's a skinhead, which, you know how I feel about skinheads. But look, man, some people, like this guy, he didn't hate minorities or anything. He just was proud to be white. I get that. You know, guy done like 40 years in prison. He was proud to be a white guy. I don't know why. It's like, Everyone knows we have smaller dicks than other races. I don't know. Pisces, you guys are blowing it too. And Asians, you guys are fucked. So basically, it's just black guys have big dicks. Okay, well, it's not that bad then. Just, they got bigger ones than us. Sorry, it's just like 6:30 in the morning. I say weird shit. I got to be friends with this guy, this older skinhead. He was doing a life sentence, and what his whole story was this: he was in the military back in like the 80s or something, right? Maybe the 70s. I mean, he'd been busted for a long time. He's at a bar. He gets in a fight with someone. He pulls out a knife. He stabs him in the neck. Admittedly, before we get further, not a good thing to do. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I have stabbed someone in my life. Felt like puncturing a pumpkin, as we know. But I couldn't stab someone in the neck. That's hardcore. It's like some Pantera shit. I can't do it. I'm more of a Sublime guy, you know? I like Slayer, though. South of Heaven, that's a good album. Like Suicidal Tendencies, but it's not Pantera, though. It's definitely not Pantera. Sorry, I really am just really tired right now. So this guy, he ends up stabbing this guy in the neck and he kills him. Now the problem was this guy, his name was Harry. Harry was in the military. His name was Henry. Henry, sorry. He did this tattoo on me. This Warhol gun. That's prison work. See that red? That red was in a fire hydrant. He got a razor blade and like took the red paint off and he like mixed it in shampoo. And I'm like, hey man, is that toxic? He's like, no. And he like tattooed on me and I was like, had ink poisoning really bad. Anyway, so he ended up killing this guy and he got a life sentence because he was on a military base. It was a federal crime. He goes to prison and he gets a letter like 20 years later. And it's the guy that he killed's sister. And she's like, hey, I just want you to know that I forgive you. You know, I'm a Christian and I'm trying to work on forgiving people that have wronged me or whatever throughout my life. And I just want you to know that I forgive you. And so my friend's like, can you send a picture of yourself? And she's like, I got you. And she sends a picture. And I mean, he'd been in prison for 40 years. You know, she could have sent a picture of a golden retriever and the dude probably would have been in love, you know? And he started, I mean, listen, convicts, from all the reading poetry books and just weird stuff that normal people that don't do time do. A lot of guys and a lot of convicts can spit game and they end up falling in love. And she actually petitioned the feds to let him out and they actually ended up getting married. This guy killed her brother. Yes, it says a lot more about her than it says about him, right? That's some weirdo shit for sure. And I'd always talk to him about what murdering someone felt like. Like, do you feel bad? I think that would be my big problem with killing someone. I don't know if I'm capable of it. Of course I am. If someone hurt my kid, Karina, my parents, I'd kill them, you know, depending on what kind of hurt. Like if somebody did something sexual to them, yeah, of course I would kill them or hurt them in a way like that. Oh, hold on. So Henry would always tell me that, you know, he felt bad for a while and then he went through a period of not feeling bad at all. And when he didn't feel bad at all, when it stopped affecting him, he thought that maybe he had become a full-blown sociopath. And he would tell me that he had, you know, really nightmarish dreams. And for Christmas, he was like one of the best artists I've ever known in my life. And he could do crazy shit out of his head. So I came up with an idea to do a gay porn scene of me licking Paul, my brother Paul who passed away, me licking Paul's asshole naked, like super realistic. This looked like a graphic novel. And it said it's in like a comic book bubble. It said, if you tell anyone about this, I'll kick your ass, queer. And I sent it to Paul. I think it cost me like $15. Paul thought it was the funniest thing ever. He put it up on his refrigerator until like, I think his roommates were like, hey bro, we can't have that up here. That's pretty hardcore. He's like, my friend sent it to me. They're like, we don't care, man. It's not what we're about. We're not about that. It's like, whatever, dude. You guys are conservative prudes. So, point is this is the kind of environment that I was going into. You know, that's why I went on this long rant about it, because you got to realize that you're around people that are bona fide killers, straight up. At a medium security federal prison, one of the prerequisites is that you have to have violence on your record. So think about that for a second. Every single person that was at this prison had some violent thing in their past, including me. For me, it was a misdemeanor battery, but I also got caught with a shank, which they consider a violent charge. And that's how they can justify, you know, keeping in the higher security prisons. On top of all that, I find out from Popeye that Nazi lowriders are running half the yard. Now, I've been greenlit by them for forever. They want to kill me. But the thing is, they've always been PC'd up because they can't walk in a lot of yards because they pull grimy shit. You know, I knew this NLR guy, or I'd heard about, you know, some guy, he was losing his house. He only owed like $5 or $6 grand and he could save it. He had like 4 kids and he was on federal probation. He violated on purpose and brought a bunch of heroin up his ass to be able to sell because he knew there was a bunch of high-powered people at MDCLA. And this NLR guy was like, dude, I'll buy all of it. And he ended up burning the guy. So the guy just turned himself, or, you know, he violated on purpose, turned himself in, he got burned by this guy. And they're known for doing stuff like that. Of course, it's like cops. Not all cops are bad, but a lot of NLR and a lot of dirty white boys are scumbags. It's true. You know, I've met some good ones from both of those camps, but for the most part, they're not like the most solid guys. They pull a lot of grimy moves like that. So I knew that that's what kind of situation I was getting into. I sat next to this guy on the bus who was from, is it Tongo Blast? From Texas. I forget what that stands for. It's some acronym about like, I don't even know, about like I don't know. I'm sure people leave in the comments about Tongo Blast. But we struck up a conversation and he pretty much was telling me that, you know, that he had just paroled from this yard and he was telling me how it was. And I was like, well, is it still cracking? He's like, oh yeah. Yeah. He's like, we just went at it, with the black dudes. It was like a full blown riot. This was like maybe a year before that. And I was like, yeah, so it's still bad there. He's like, yeah. You know, people are getting removed from the yard all the time, smashed off the yard. See, in the state, they call it, when you get taken off yard, they call it getting removed. So they say it's a removal. In federal prison, you get smashed off the yard or they whack you, you know. There's hits where they'll just come up and stab you. So you know that you're going into a very combative situation. Travel days are always very laborious, you know. Laborious, you're just sitting there shackled in handcuffs, but it's still just standing in the, just kind of like sitting there shackled, you know, upright like that. It's very uncomfortable. People are farting all the time. You know, there's always like some old guy with like gray hair in his ears and he'll make like one of those old antique, like creaking wooden farting sounds like, and then there'll be someone sitting, it'll be like, excuse me, bro. God damn. Elderly ass fucking weirdo, man. And he's like, oh, I didn't even realize that I farted. And it's always weird. And those are kind of like weird exchanges that happen. So we do the travel thing all day. We get to Victorville. And the whole intake process takes 6 or 7 hours. It is an exhausting day. They get you up in the middle of the night when you catch the chain. You go, and then they put you in tanks. So, you know, everybody, it's weird. Like, when you first get there, when you're off the bus, now you can actually hear people because it's such a zoo in the bus. In state prison, it's different. You can't even talk on the bus. They have, like, a guy with a gun, and he'll literally, like, shoot you if you talk. They're ridiculous. In state systems, weird. Federal, they're not as barbaric as that, but they do hit you with like percussion grenades all the time and they spray you with mace, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty horrible too. And you know, so everyone will like talk and you just hear everybody, a million different conversations going on at once. There's probably like, you know, 75, 80 men sitting on this big long slab of concrete in a, you know, there's like bars, and this is the intake. One at a time, they bring you out. You have to get cleared medically, psychologically, and then you have to talk to the captain, who'll be like, did you rat anybody out on your case? No. Are you a sex offender? I'm a sexy hot tan offender. sex offender humor. That's how we're going to start your journey at Victorville. And they hate it when you're going home, right? I only had 6 weeks left on my federal sentence. No, 8 weeks. I had 2 months. They know that, you know? So you get there and they're like, you know, you think that you're in like the Major Payne movie, you know? It's like they're like drill sergeants, like, all right, gentlemen, this is your home that the Federal Bureau of Prisons has designated you to for the next foreseeable future. And they tell you stuff like this, right? So you know, they'll give you a little speech. It's like there's a lot of heroin on this yard. Yeah. We have punks. Yeah. We got chicks with dicks here. That's what we got, gentlemen. And we got heroin and trannies. Yeah. You're here because you committed a crime. You're here because you are a societal reject. You're here, and then you hear someone in the back, shut the fuck up, dude. And then you see like 6 cops just tackle them. That happens all the time. So you get that. Then they assign you to your housing unit. So they assign me to my housing unit, and you are fatigued by this point. If you've ever been to county jail and you've been to court, imagine that on steroids. That's what going from a jail to a prison feels like. It's horrible. Imagine the DMV on wheels, but you're shackled, handcuffed, there's people farting, and you're in danger the whole time. That is traveling on a prison day like that. So, what ends up happening is... Sorry, I just can't get comfortable. I did leg day today. I'm sore. And my hair is getting really gray. Oh, well. I go to my housing unit, and it's always, I'm so used to it. I'm like a seasoned convict by this point, you know? I walk in there and everybody swivels, you know? Like, it's weird. Like, people are just kind of like lounging around, and like they see a new person, they start doing like push-ups, probably because they want a butt fuck or something. They're like, dude. Hot tan dude, 3 o'clock. Be cool. Walking by, like, hey, what's up? No, nothing. Do you party? It's a weird thing to say. Yeah, no, I don't. You sound like a cop, dude. Fucking weirdo. So then, you know, you have your cell assignment. Now, they put me, I think, in F lower or something. So at Victorville, they have A upper and A lower. So it's like A, B, C, D, E, and F. And there's an upper and a lower. And it's like, you know, classic, like in the show Oz, or like in, you know, in prison lockup shows or whatever. I don't watch that shit, but I'm sure some people do. I don't, because it's like, it's the last thing I want to watch. It's just like, I've talked about this. People that want to watch cop shows in prison, they're like, dude, let's watch cops racially profile people and beat them up. Yeah, that's cool. Man, this is all I know. Isn't this cool, Larry? Yeah, did it? This is cool as fuck, man. Yeah. Love this shit. There's like, you know, there's like legit fans of it. So, you know, everybody looks at me. The bravado thing comes on. Everyone wants to look tough. I go to my cell, and I see that it's kind of dirty in there. You know, I have a cellie. He's not there. I look, I'm like, all right, this dude's a dirtbag. I'm a dirtbag. Cool. So now the rep comes in, right? Guy named Chuck. Chuck comes up to me. He's this old man. Swastikas everywhere, iron crosses, has a cane. Sounds like the fucking drill sergeant cop. Hey, man, I'm Chuck. How you doing? I'm like, hey, man, I'm Vicious. I'm from Santa Barbara. Nice to meet you, dog. He's like, what the fuck? I was like, hey, man, I'm just kidding. I'm Ryan. How you doing? Oh boy. All right. So I guess we'll just cut the foreplay, man. What are you in here for? What kind of charges? Huh? Sex crime? Anything like that? I got no, dude. I'm in here for a violation. He's like, okay, all right. You've done Fed time. I said, I've been on this yard before. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. So, do you have a throwaway I can have? You got like you got something that that I can hold on to for a second? I was asking him for a knife. He's like, hey, whoa, we don't give knives until we see paperwork. We need to see your paperwork. It's like, all right, well, I mean, I can have my dad send my docket sheet in. It's like, your dad sent your docket sheet? I said, yeah, dude, I've done time. Already, this guy was just giving me an attitude, right? He thought I was a rat or something. I don't know. Probably the color tattoos, you know? And I was walking, you know, with now my ribs were finally like starting to heal. It'd been months and months and months. All right, well, I'm going to need that paperwork and, you know, here, man. And he gives me a knife. He gives me what's called a friendly. It's about the size of my palm. I was like, all right, cool. I just tuck it in my boxers, make a little fold. That's like a little kind of like, I don't know, trick. You just kind of like fold it, you know, you get like the elastic part of your boxers and you fold it so that the knife can stay there. And then later you get a string and you can tie it to your drawstrings once you get shorts. So this guy asked me, Chuck, he's like, hey man, do you need anything, bro? I was like, you know what? In fact, I do. I need a radio. I need yard dogs, which means like sneakers that are like old with holes in it that you can that like sole purpose is just to wear on the yard because it's desertscape there, so it gets very dirty. I was like, I need sweatshorts, shirts. I'm just giving him like a whole list. He's just like looking at me like, wow. So now my cellie comes in. Now my cellie's like this big dude from Utah, long hair. He looks scary. Looks like a giant. He's this big giant guy, long hair. Kind of looks like Anthony Kiedis if Anthony Kiedis had, you know, been a carny and addicted to crystal meth or something. He just had like one of those very worn faces. He's like, hey man, I don't even remember his name, but he's from Utah. He's like, oh, hey man, you're not a child molester, are you? I was like, no. Do I look like a child molester? He's like, do I? I'm like looking at this guy. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Well, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, look, man, I'm tired. I don't know, dude. I'm going to make my bed. He's like, okay, yeah, make your bed. He goes out with Chuck. I hear him talking. They're like, oh, man, this guy's going to be a liability. I don't like him. I think he's a chomo. I'm like, oh, my God, they're just saying shit like this. I'm like, what the where am I? What kind of shit is this? So then I see this other white guy come, all right, this bald guy. Looks like a used car salesman or something. He's like, hey, man. What's up, bro? I'm the Pope. And that's your nickname, the Pope? He's like, yeah. I'm kind of a god around these parts, bro. I was like, oh. Awesome. Awesome. I landed with like the wackest white dudes ever. Once again. What's wrong? Like, you know, Victorville was scary the first time that I was there, but at least the guys weren't weird like this. Like, they didn't trust me. They didn't know who I was. You know, they didn't recognize my name or anything. You know, and they're like, so how much time did you get for your violation? I'm like, 8 months. They're like, got to meet your attorney, man. I'm like, how much time are you doing? Life. They're all doing life. I'm like, great, dude. All right. So I make my bed, and that guy at the Pope comes back. You know, he's just this, like, I don't know. He's just this. All these guys are people that they're like not my kind of people. You know, they're rough around the edges, but there's like no humanity in it. First time I was at Victorville, I got handed a knife. I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to rape someone? And he's like, hopefully it won't have to come to that. No, I said, am I going to have to stab somebody? He's like, you know, hopefully it won't come to that. And I was like, oh my God. And I was all scared. And then I remember we watched that movie, My Sister's Keeper, about the girl that has leukemia, the little girl. And I swear to God, every white dude, because you have to wear your headphones and then you tune in, you have like a little radio and you turn into like 88.2 and you can listen to what's on the TV and you can listen to, they have a bunch of different TVs on pillars. There was not one white dude there that didn't have moist eyes. Everybody teared up to this movie. It's about a kid with cancer. It was a sad movie. And that was very comforting because it humanized them. This is the first time I was there. Now this time I'm with the Pope, I'm with Chuck, and I don't even remember I think his name was Sal, my cellie from Utah. So, you know, I make my bed and then, you know, the Pope is like, hey man, I'm going to go out to the yard. I think it's a good idea if you go with me. Now, I've been to Victorville. I already know how this place is treacherous as all fuck, you know? Sometimes they call you out to the yard and you are going into an ambush. And I'm like, great. First of all, I didn't know. My pimping shit at Santa Barbara, they put me in GP. I was cool. There's no GP and PC at this place. I don't know if they're going to trip on it because you think pimping and pandering, it sounds like a sex crime. And then on top of that, you're with a bunch of illiterate guys that, even if it's not a sex crime, they're just like, dude, isn't like prostitutes sex and a crime? It's a sex crime. Fuck that fool. Stab him. You know, you don't know. You don't know if somebody else's ignorance is going to get you killed. So I'm like, well, hey man, I want to shower. I just got here. Like, let me get comfortable. You know, he's like, hey, do you need anything? And I was like, yeah, like if you can give me some soup, some other stuff until store, that'd be cool. I got money on my books, and I'll pay you on store day. He's like, how many soups? And I was like, 5. He's like, I don't got it, bro. I was like, all right, just give me like 1 or something. You know, bro, I don't really have anything. I was kind of hoping that you were just going to say you didn't need anything. Like, am I on punked right now, dude? Like, is Ashton Kutcher like going to jump out in an orange jumpsuit and be like, just kidding, Ryan. There's actually a bunch of solid white guys there. No, there's a bunch of weirdos. All right. Just dip. I'm too big of a chunk. It was like some weird, like, European, looks like Afghan heroin or something. It's helping me smoke less. I know I just smoked a cigarette in front of you, so you guys are, this guy's so full of shit. But anyway, so I'm already maybe I'm just irritable because it's my first day there. Maybe the NLR guys know that I'm there and I'm going to get whacked. Maybe they know about my pimping thing, which I selectively didn't say. Because they asked me what I got violated for, and I said, just a bunch of allegations. Or just a bunch of what is it called? Not complaints. I forgot what I said. Allegation. Just a bunch of allegations. The way I said it was elusive, like I was trying to hide something. I shouldn't have said that. I think that's why they called me out to the yard. I'm like, okay, whatever. Now, it's probably like 7 or 8 o'clock at night right now. No, 7 at night, because it was the last move. Yard recalls at 8 o'clock. At medium security prisons, they have controlled movement. So they get on the PA or the intercom thing. They'll be like, we're going to have a one-way movement from housing unit to recreation and education. One-way movement. And then everybody has to go in one direction. So you can go from your housing unit to education. Then they'll do another movement where it goes the other way. And you have to go through metal detectors. So I go with him because this is the last move we can go on for the night. I'm going out to the yard. He just wants me to go. I just want you to go meet the fellas. I'm like, all right, man, I'll go with the Pope out to the yard, whatever. So we're going through the metal detectors. We're walking and you're seeing a paisa walking with a laundry bag. He's walking in front of us. There's probably like 300 or 400 people on the walkway going out to the yard. It's a huge herd of people. Now, in front of us, there's this paisa with the sack slung over him. And you just see about maybe 4 other paisas just go from every direction, just start bombing on him, right? They just start smashing this dude the fuck out. Probably like 15 feet, 20 feet behind them. And I learned from the first time that I've been there, blinders. Don't look. Doesn't have anything to do with me. But still, I'm like, my heart's beating. I'm on guard. I have the knife on me. The guy had given me sweat shorts, so I used the Friendly, which is the reason it's called a Friendly is because it's a plexiglass knife that they make in the factories. They have Unicor where they make like stuff for border patrol vehicles, which I always thought like, damn, really? You're going to make stuff for the feds so you can get paid $9 a month? That's crazy. I would never do that on general principle. I have my knife tucked to the drawstring now, and the whole point of the plexiglass and why it's called a Friendly is because it can actually go through metal detectors. So, and they're more for show than anything else, because if you stab someone with it, it usually breaks off inside of them. It's not very practical to like actually hit someone, and they're flimsy and they snap. So these 4 guys are jumping this guy, and you're hearing cops go, "Everybody down, get down!" Now they're all wearing black boots, and they start stomping on their face, and he's getting beat up pretty bad. It's a pretty brutal beating, but like I said, I'm like trying not to look. So I don't look for a second, and then when I do get a glance, blood all over. It was obvious that they stabbed him a bunch of times because there was just blood pooling outside of him. Now, you have to appreciate this. I've been traveling all day. I'm at a yard. They're calling me out to a yard for a reason that I don't fucking know. I have no idea why they're calling me out to the yard, but it could be for something serious. There's a good chance that I'm going to get beat up, and I'm thinking this in my mind. This might just be my paranoia talking. But then I see this, some Pisces whack somebody. I had been on the compound for 5 minutes and I saw a Pisces get stabbed. And I was just like, wow, and so get on the ground. So when something like that happens, like in state prison, the sirens, and everybody to get down on your stomach and they'll like shoot at you. In the feds, it's not like that. And at FCI Victorville, they don't even have gun towers. The gun towers are at the USP. What they have is they have trucks that like go around the, parameters of the place and kind of just like make sure everything's okay. So they're yelling for us to get down. We all get down, and this guy got stabbed bad because he's like coughing up. It looks like a scene out of like a war movie or something. So he's sitting there, he's crying, he's like, and blood's like bubbling out of his mouth. It was really hardcore, and the blood was kind of blossoming out. It was expanding very quickly, and the Pope was like, man, you see that? Man, those Hispanics are fucking animals, man. I don't know why he started talking like that. He really did have like a southern twang. I probably should have said that the whole time with the Pope. But, after that, they wouldn't let us go to the yard. They did it's called yard recall. Now, we didn't go under lockdown because they usually, when someone gets stabbed like that, sometimes if the person dies, they'll put you on a lockdown and do an investigation. If it's interracial, they for sure will because they know the whole penitentiary is going to go up in flames. It's like 4 or 5. It was about 4 Pisces on one dude. They did stab him. So instead of locking us down, they just did yard recall and we go back to the yard. We get back to the yard and I'm like, all right, man, well, I'll go out. We'll meet him at breakfast. Pope's like, yeah, we need to do that right in front of Chuck. So now I'm like really paranoid because I know that something's up because they're like in on it and they want me to go out to the yard. Usually if somebody hits a compound and they have information on them, perhaps they knew that I was in there for the pimping thing. It was all over the papers and shit. I'd been in Huffington Post and, I'd been in some newspapers in LA, some in Santa Barbara, some local stuff and some national stuff and the Penthouse. Who knows who saw that? It grabs people's attention when the article's about some convict that wrote a best-selling book and is going back to prison for being a pimp. Being a fucking pimp. All this stuff's going through my mind. I go take a shower. I come back, go to the cell. There you get shower shoes, but you have to wear your boots to the shower. And when you get to the shower, you take your boots off, you put your shower shoes in, you go and you take a shower. That's a prison politic. The guards don't make you do that. The inmates do because you can't walk around in your shower shoes because someone can just come take off on you and you kind of get rooted down to the floor if you have shower shoes on. It like puts a suction mechanism. So it's like stay ready so you don't have to get ready mentality. Go into my cell. And my celly's just like, all right, man, I just like to read at night, so I'd appreciate if we didn't talk, which is very bizarre. When you meet a celly, usually you stay up all night the first night talking to him, getting to know him because you're in fucking prison. You don't know if this dude's cutting off, like, family of 7's fucking heads and putting them in duffel bags and selling them in, like, the, Middle East or something to some exotic head collector or whatever. You don't know. And you definitely think about that stuff. So he's just reading. I'm sitting up at the bunk. I go, hey, man, you got a radio? He's like, hey. I said, no talking, but since you're new, I got you on the radio. He goes, hey, man, let me ask you something. Do you realize that you're in fucking trouble right now? And I was like, excuse me? He's like, do you realize you're in trouble right now? And I said, no. He's like, well, when you get called out to the yard your first fucking 10 minutes on a compound, that's not a good sign. I said, do you know something that I don't know? He said, I do. I said, well, can you make me privy to this information about me? He goes, as soon as I see your paperwork, then I can tell you what's going on. But let's just say that you're in trouble. And I'm like, I said, does it have anything to do with NLR? He's like, maybe it does. But be prepared tomorrow when the doors crack and we go to breakfast, because we knew you were coming 4 days ago. I was like, all right, hey man, I'm just going to pass out. I'm just going to get some shut-eye now. Fuck it. Oh, hey, I don't like to sleep with my knife. I'm going to I'm going to go ahead and put that in a soap dish and just kind of like let it chill overnight. If you need me, I'm here. All right, good night, brother. Oh, good night, man. And I'm sitting there, and it's very familiar. Fleetwood Mac comes on, on the radio, because they play that nonstop loop, like some weird breakup torture shit. I'm just sitting there. The light from the outside's illuminating the cell. I didn't cry, but I felt like crying, if you know what I mean. How the fuck am I back in this situation? How am I having a sleepless night in Victimville again, 9 years later, not knowing what tomorrow's going to bring me, but knowing that tomorrow's going to bring me something pretty bad? And we'll get into that in the next installment of my third prison term. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone. This is the month I'm really going to hook up Patreon. This is when the documentary stuff starts coming up. I'm going to start posting it. I'm going to start getting everyone excited. I started this channel for the documentary. I'm proud to say it's going to be something, it's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen. It's probably going to be the most important work I've ever done. It's my life. If you like my stories, you're going to like the documentary. And there's a dick shot. I appreciate every single one of you. Check out paulnarcanproject.com. Buy tickets for the upcoming raffle, or sign up to get your free Narcan. And when I can legally do that and we have the subsidies, I'm taking all the necessary steps. I just got the tax-exempt 501c3, registered with LegalZoom and the Secretary of State. I can start distributing that Narcan, paying that karmic debt, in memory of Paul Harper. And I just like to say rest in peace, Paul. I know for a fucking fact that he would really appreciate this. And I thank you guys for help making it possible. It's important when you get on an upward trajectory to use that platform and voice, following, etc., to help make the world a better place. And people are dropping like flies out there. It's a real thing. I've never had my heart broken so badly in my entire life until I lost him. So I want to do what I can to make sure that doesn't happen to other people. Stay safe, guys. Palabra.